Here we have verse 30 of the 6th chapter of the Gospel of John. Jesus has been responding to a question that was put to him by the people who had just the previous day eaten the food that he had provided in the feeding of the 5,000. And they've asked the question, well, what do we need to do? What works do we need to do the work of God, expecting Jesus to give them a list of required performance items. And of course, Jesus surprises them somewhat by saying, well, this is the work of God, that you believe on the one whom he has sent. The question as to how a work can be an act of faith is, of course, left a little bit in a mysterious state at this point, although it'll become more clear as the discussion proceeds. Actually, a little earlier, Jesus had said to them that they were coming to seek him out, not because they had seen the sign, and of course by that he was intimating that they had seen the miracle but hadn't seen the sign, and they were coming therefore simply for a reproduction of the miracle. They had eaten food and they wanted more of it, and so they saw the miracle but missed the sign, and Jesus is accusing them really in some ways of not getting the point. And so now they ask the question, well, what works do we need to do? In other words, what's the sign value that is implied there? And so Jesus gives this response that has to do with faith. Well, they don't quite put that together, and of course their response makes that quite clear. Epon, this is from Lego, I say, it's a second aorist verb, third person plural, aorist active indicative. They said, un, therefore, auto, they said to him, auto is the pronoun, dative, masculine, singular. They said, therefore, to him, te. This is either what or why. Context determines it. It's an interrogative pronoun. So, te un, what therefore, poies, from poieo, to make or to do. This is the present tense, second person singular, present active indicative, a contract verb here. So what therefore do you do, su? And then the addition of su, of course, makes this emphatic, as if they were putting special emphasis. Well, what do you do is the force of it, and the doing has to do with a sign. Well, what sign do you do? Jesus has told them earlier that they are missing the point, not seeing the sign, and so in a sense they're returning to that, asking a question that apparently on the face of it is seeking clarification of that. So what sign do you do? Hina, in order that. Idomen. Hina, in order that, takes the subjunctive. This is the subjunctive, and this is the subjunctive, these two words. So hina idomen. This is from ado or blepo, second aorist, to see. This is an aorist subjunctive, so first person plural, aorist active subjunctive, in order that we might see, kai, and then same thing here, might believe. Again, an aorist subjunctive, first person plural. So what sign do you do so that we can see and believe? Soi, believe you. The dative case here. And then te, same as up here. What ergodze, what work do you do, or what work are you going to accomplish? It's a little bit of a cheeky question, I think, actually, that they're really ignoring what Jesus had just done the day before. In fact, some have argued that that indicates these people were not there, or maybe the miracle didn't happen. Of course, you'll get that from critical scholars. I don't think so. The point here is simply that they are mystified by what Jesus has said to them, that this is the work of God, that you believe. He's already confused them a little bit earlier with his accusation that they didn't recognize the sign. And so in a sense they're asking for a sign. They're saying, okay, if we didn't see it the first time, then do it even bigger and better. Make it more clear what sign this is, so that in fact we can, according to your parameters, see it. So that we can, according to your requirements, believe it. What are you going to do? What is going to be this sign? And of course, this is leading steadily into Jesus' great Bread of Life discourse that we'll continue to pursue as we move through this chapter.